Hi guys, how are you doing today? It's so good to see you again. And today we are going to be talking about how loneliness changes you and what I've learned about loneliness. Let's get right into the video. One thing I want you to know is loneliness arrives loudly. It doesn't come quietly. But before you notice that you're actually lonely, you start giving excuses as to why you're being lonely. At times, or oftentimes, you feel like I'm independent, I'm not lonely. Loneliness creep in quietly, and then you see the results loudly because at the point where you realize that what you're going through is loneliness, it has eaten deep into you. At first, you don't even call it loneliness, you just feel I'm independent and that's how I want to be. You convince yourself that you're okay being alone, you want to do life alone, you don't need people, you just want to be all by yourself. And then you conclude that you don't owe anybody anything and nobody owes you anything. At that point, loneliness is dealing with you. And one thing loneliness does to you is because it makes you more quiet, it makes you more reserved. You start detaching from people because you believe that they do not owe you anything and you don't owe them anything. And you're quiet not because you don't have anything to say, but you're tired of explaining things to people, maybe family members, friends. You're just tired of communication. And what loneliness does to you is that it teaches you on how to communicate with your thoughts all by yourself. You're all by yourself in your head, you're making conversations, you're used to being alone, and that gives you a sort of vulnerability with yourself. And when you are sitting longer with your thoughts, it is not healthy because everything is in your head. And when you try to interpret what is in your head to the reality that you're facing, it is not healthy. And one thing loneliness does to you is that it sharpens your awareness. You are aware of your reality, you're cautious of things, you're very, very careful with people, which is not meant to be. Fine, you can be cautious with people, but not overly cautious. And I learned that once you're lonely, you start overextending yourself. You give more than you should, you create excuses for people, nothing gets to you. And that makes you cold. And being cold is not nice because your empathetic side is dead. You just feel like you're okay being who you are, and that should not be because you cannot do life alone. No matter how stretched you are, no matter how people have hurt you in the past or how people have made you feel less of yourself, believe me, you need people. You need your own community. You need people that you can say, these are my own people. And once you cut off from that fact, that means you're lonely. And the moment you start excusing bad behavior, you start tolerating bad behavior from people, you start creating excuses for people who hurt you, believe me that you are lonely and you're trying not to project onto other people. You just feel like once you're by yourself, you're okay. You don't want to be with people. And that is one of the hardest lessons I had to learn because I realized that I started withdrawing from people. I think more, I overthink things, and I start creating excuses for people. When people hurt me, I feel like it's okay. Humans will be humans. Yes, humans will be humans, but then not holding people accountable to how they treat you, and then you just letting it go will do a lot to your mental health. And also, loneliness taught me another part of me that I didn't realize up until now. It taught me discernment. You know, when you're discerning, before anything comes close to you, you already know what to expect. And then it forces me to learn about myself deeply. Now I know what I am about. It's not if I don't know what I am about, but then I'm able to reflect deeply and know the kind of person I am. You know, at times you know the kind of person you are, but you are not private to some other aspect of it. Only people from the outside world that sees this part of you and say, oh, you do these things and you do these things. But once you are open to being lonely, you will learn a lot about yourself. You will self-reflect. You will think about what you think you are not doing right or what you think you are doing wrong, which might be a good thing, but you don't have to stay lonely for too long. And one thing I started to believe is that being lonely is better than being surrounded by people that do not see you or people that do not care about you. That aspect of loneliness is correct, but then once you stay too lonely, you overstretch your thinking, and that breaks you because you don't have anybody you want to talk to, you're all by yourself. And one day you just wake up and realize that there's really nobody to talk to about what you're going through. And as much as I will tell you that loneliness is not an entirely good thing, but it taught me a very vital and important part of life, that you do not have to do life alone. There was a point at which I was going through a lot and there was nobody I could speak with. I know I could speak with my mom, but I wanted something outside of my mom, my comfort, and familiar people. And I thought about it. There was really nobody to actually speak with or share my thoughts with. And that can hurt because you feel like you have a thought process that you needed to speak with another person about, but you're too lonely to have somebody. And that's not good. But then loneliness doesn't really just break me, it also refined me. It taught me to sit with myself without running, to actually face my fears rather than ignoring them. And then it taught me to build a life that is not collapsing before you start getting to the stage where you understand that life is life and people are people. And it also taught me that you have to choose your peace over proximity. And if you're lonely right now, these are the things I want you to know. Being lonely is not the end of the world. What are you doing to change the fact that you are alone and you do not have anybody that you want to discuss maybe one or two things with? And I want you to realize that loneliness is not a punishment. It's not for the fact that you feel that friendships or relationships or people that you want to be closer to you, it's not a proof that something is wrong with you. It is the time for you to pause and think about how best to move forward when it comes to relationships, when it comes to friendships, and when it comes to knowing your boundaries. Sometimes loneliness is a protection. Sometimes it's just you being far apart from reality before you now choose to dive into what your reality is. But please, do not stay lonely for too long. It's going to affect your mental health. Everybody at some point in time needs somebody, even if it's just one person, a genuine person. Find your own person, and always make sure that when you find your person, you are not detaching from them. Because that's one thing loneliness will teach you: how to detach from people, how to not see how you're feeling at the moment. And one thing I want you to know is when the right people come, which they will, you won't accept less. You will know your worth, and then they will also know how to treat you because they see that you could stand alone and then you can understand the concept of what friendship or relationship is about. And that is all I have to say today. Till I'll see you next time. Bye.